There are three things in life that will never change: traffic, my height, and solo leveling's god-awful writing.
Mom just woke up from a 4-year coma. I'm not going to Jeju Island. Kinda eerie how no one's around today.
But what if I told you that the writing isn't that bad?
Wait for it.
If you remove Jin-Woo from the show. To truly explain just how badly written Jin-Woo is, we need to break this video down into two parts: the power system and progression, and then the character and plot writing. We're going to look at three key arcs: the double dungeon arc, the C-rank dungeon arc, and the Jeju Island arc. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's finally talk about the power system. And trust me, it's one of the most baffling power systems I have ever seen. Solo leveling is a battle shonen, which means that fights are a massive part of the show. So balancing power systems to not make it completely overpowered or broken is very important. Most anime would achieve this by having a core group of characters that are able to keep up with the main character, like Tanjiro the Hashira and Nezuko in Demon Slayer, and if some characters just can't keep up, they're either written out of relevancy or they find another way that lets their existence be relevant, like becoming an emotional anchor that helps the main character morally stay who they are. But in solo leveling, the problem starts immediately with the narrator mentioning that if you awaken as a hunter and get a rank, no amount of training will improve your power and you are permanently stuck at your rank, which is already a questionable decision. So if you introduce a character like Jin-Woo, who is the only one who can improve, the story has to automatically center around him because no one else will be able to keep up with him, and that would be fine if he progresses just like every other main character in every other anime. But this is solo leveling we're talking about. The power progression is about as balanced as my non-existent sleep schedule. So, is the power progression really that bad? Nope. It's worse than you can possibly imagine, so let's go through them. By doing daily quests, he's able to use his points across different skills and stats to grow stronger. So there's already a layer of progression, and that is linear progression. But then, he can also collect bonus loot from completing his daily quests, like getting keys to dungeons only he has access to, or getting random power-ups from his loot box. So that already piles on another layer of progression that exponentially increases. So now it's become a quadratic progression. But then there's more, because you can't forget about his skills, as he can both extract skills from enemies, and he can also just gain skills from simply leveling up. So we've already hit cubic progression. And to make it worse, he can not only extract abilities, he can extract shadows from the dead and add them to his own strength. So the tougher the fight, the more powerful they'll be when he turns them into his shadow. So we've already hit quartic progression. And then, on top of that, the shadows can improve alongside Jin-Woo. No one else can improve except his shadows or Jin-Woo. So we've hit quintic progression. Oh, but if you thought we were done, oh no. If you thought quintic progression wasn't enough, he can equip artifacts and overpowered gear and weapons without consequences, and has access to a shop that can literally do anything, like gaining health back. We've hit sextic progression. And then finally, killing enemies grants him XP and stat boosts. So we've hit septic growth. 7 entire layers of progression. I am just genuinely baffled at how the author thought that this level of progression was completely reasonable. And it's not. In the show, it becomes very obvious that the power system and the power scaling is completely broken. It forces the plot to essentially handicap itself and introduce a power creep. A power creep is a gradual process by which newer characters and antagonists become increasingly stronger than older characters and antagonists. But since Jin-Woo is written to have such exponential power progression, it forces the villains to also have an exponential power creep, so every new villain is infinitely stronger than the last. He goes from fighting a single E-rank goblin to fighting a giant snake-like monster to suddenly fighting egress and an endless swarm of undead, and then an ant king that is able to wipe hunters so easily it might as well be fighting toddlers instead of actual S-rank hunters. Why is Jeju able to suddenly beat a B-rank assassin that is able to have stealth? Why is he able to take their abilities? Shut up, don't think about it. How come in just a single episode, Jeju goes from being unable to kill a single E-rank goblin to suddenly being able to fight a C-rank blue venom-fanged snake-like monster boss? Shut up, don't think about it. How is Jeju able to run from a giant monster that is faster than Jeju for 4 entire hours when it's shown that Jeju fighting for only a few minutes tires him out?
I still haven't done any actual damage. And with high fatigue, I'm about to get real slow real fast.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Say it with me, guys. Shut up. Don't think about it. You know it's bad when not only is the power progression broken, they can't even keep his power progression consistent, and they nerf him depending on whenever they want to put tension or drag out an arc. Realistically, he should be killing these type of monsters very, very easily. Oh, what's that you said? Not even 2 episodes later, he beats a B-rank assassin that has broken skills. He's able to do very cunning and stealthy attacks, and then Jeju just slaps him around. Solo leveling writing, everyone. And Beru the Ant King has it the worst. And speaking of the Ant King, let's finally start talking about the arcs. Hopefully, it's not as bad as the awful power progression. Right? Right? Right?
Death breathing down your neck, just like the double dungeon where I was abandoned.
That's 6 in favor of going and 6 opposed, which would make Jeju here the deciding vote.
I vote yes! Just like the double dungeon where I was abandoned. I vote yes!
Stay back, Juhi! I gotta go back and help with the main assault. Look after him and patch him up if you can.
Hey kid, have you eaten yet? Can't fight magic beast running on fumes.
Right. Just like the double dungeon where I was abandoned.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
It's a raid we've been wanting to launch for years. Would you be willing to lend us your strength?
It's a perfect opportunity to level up. I'd hate to let it go.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
Mom just woke up from a 4-year coma. I'm not going to Jeju Island. Kinda eerie how no one's around today.
Oh. We're actually going to start at the end of the show, well so far, with the Jeju Island raid in Season 2, and then circle back into the other arcs in order. Because if you thought the power progression was bad, the writing is on another level. And I had to suffer through all of it just to make this video. So please subscribe. If you want to watch anything from actual good anime recommendations to anime news, anime breakdowns, and trashing on other anime, yes, I'm looking at you. If that sounds like your thing, this is the perfect channel. Because I'm not doing any more solo leveling. I can't. Now that we've got that shameless plug out of the way, let's get back into the video. By this point, Jeju is so absurdly powerful that he can solo entire dungeons and any amount of armies just by himself in his shadows, and he has achieved his goal of waking his mother up from the eternal sleep spell she was under for years. Now, the newest Jeju Island raid is about to start, and all they need is some help, so they recruit some Japanese S-rank hunters alongside the already Korean hunters that is tagging along. And the raid is supposed to take around 3 to 4 hours. Not 2 days, not 2 weeks, but 3 to 4 hours. And when they ask Jeju to participate, his inner monologue explicitly states that it would be a great way to farm for XP and level up, but then he suddenly gets a flashback of his sister and his mom living together and reuniting, and he justifies that as not going because he wants to spend time with his family.
It's a raid we've been wanting to launch for years. Would you be willing to lend us your strength?
It's a perfect opportunity to level up. I'd hate to let it go, or I would have hated to. So about this Jeju Island raid.
Sung Jin-Woo. He's the recently reawakened S-rank.
Okay, that's strange. I have the list for the raid here.
But his name's not on it.
I don't see Hunter Sung. I guess he won't be joining the raid after all.
Well, it's a shame. I'm sure he has his reasons.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
Again, over a raid that is only supposed to take 3 to 4 hours. Did I forget to mention that Jin-Woo can teleport instantly? This guy could probably make it home for dinner. What is he talking about? Oh, but at least he's going to be spending time with his family though, right? Because that is what Jin-Woo says in his inner monologue, right? Right? Yeah, we know where this is going. Roll the clips.
The Japanese hunter should be able to distract the ants for about an hour. Let's go!
That's the last of the daily quest. Kinda eerie how no one's around today. Mom just woke up from a 4-year coma. I'm not going to Jeju Island.
Well, it's a shame. I'm sure he has his reasons.
What? What are you talking about?
When the raid starts, and you can't make this up, he's outside exercising by himself. He's not even home. And when I saw that, I genuinely died laughing because it's so obvious that the author just wrote Jin-Woo so absurdly overpowered, but he also wanted to make a cool arc where everything looks to be hopeless, but Jin-Woo has this awesome, cool aura moment where he jumps in and saves everyone at the last second. Because if Jin-Woo had agreed to go on the raid to begin with, there would probably be no casualties or minimal casualties at best, and Jin-Woo would basically solo the entire fight even faster than it took for the S-rank hunters to even get into the actual dungeon area of where the Ant Queen was. Basically, the author needed a long stretching arc and just couldn't figure out another way to make that story work, so he just came up with this. And then if that wasn't enough, they add insult to injury by having Jin-Woo make an offhand line that they should be able to win as a reason for not going later on in the show.
They formed 2 teams of S-ranks, and every member is strong. It should be an easy victory, even without me.
What do you mean? Earlier on, he said he wants to spend time with his family, and that it's a great way to farm XP, so he'd actually be missing out by not going. And you're not gonna believe this, but when he's done exercising, he's actively watching the fight from a roof. So why not go? You're clearly not going to spend time with your family. Nothing about this arc is well written at all, or even decently written. If you were going to step in anyway, why not do that before everyone started dying? What are you waiting for? Let me remind you that if the ants get onto the mainland, it's basically over. They will run rampant across the entire world and no one would be safe, including Jin-Woo's family. Again, just because Jin-Woo exists in the story, the entire plot and characters completely depend on him, and the story suffers as a result. And because Jin-Woo is so strong because of the power progression, they had to make Beru, the Ant King, exponentially stronger than any other enemy that came before, and they didn't really have a choice. And since Jin-Woo can basically just dispatch him so easily, well, he actually does dispatch him in less than 5 minutes, they need to show the audience how strong he is by first killing off a lot of characters. But of course, he can't kill off any of the Korean S-rank hunters. Oh no, he can kill the Japanese hunters instantly and so quickly, but when he faces the Korean hunters, he just knocks them out for no reason. The only person who dies is Byung-gyu, the healer. Oh, and speaking of Byung-gyu dying...
At the same time, there are more critical voices asking whether there would have been fewer casualties had Hunter Sung agreed to participate from the very beginning.
Please hold your head high. No matter what the public thinks, the one who ended this tragedy was you, Hunter Sung.
What are you talking about? Did you forget that was Byung-gyu's best friend? He would be the last person to say that to Jin-Woo, especially after finding out that Jin-Woo can just teleport onto the fight anytime he wants. and completely wipe out everyone effortlessly. And all because the power system is broken and the author wanted Jeju to have that cool moment where he saves everyone at the last moment. The solo leveling writing, everyone. Oh, but surely it's because it's season 2, right? We're dozens of chapters in. Surely at the beginning, Jeju was well written at the very least, right? Right? You know the answer to that. What video are you watching? The premise is that Jeju is a weak E-rank hunter who, despite being called the weakest hunter, keeps risking his life to pay for his mother's treatment and his sister's tuition. That's actually a pretty strong foundation, as it's setting up a selfless underdog. Jeju takes a request for a D-rank dungeon. He also claims though that everyone treats him badly, but then is almost immediately contradicted by Joo-hee the healer and the dungeon leader and everyone else consistently being kind to him.
Hey kid, have you eaten yet? Can't fight magic beast running on fumes.
Right.
You seriously need to be more careful. I heard you even had a hospital stay.
Stay back, Joo-hee! I gotta go back and help with the main assault. Look after him and patch him up if you can.
Why is everybody flagging him down? Is that kid like a big deal or something?
He's the exact opposite. Call him the weakest hunter of all mankind.
Wait, really? That's a thing?
If that isn't weak, then I don't know what is.
It's hard to picture of someone being that bad.
But he is, so just him being here means it's gonna be a real easy raid.
And the only people who talk behind his back, who Jeju somehow overhears, is just stating facts. No one really insults him. They're just acknowledging the reality that a weak hunter makes a raid less dangerous. The story tries to paint him as a victim without actually showing real cruelty first. That's not character setup, that's telling instead of actually showing. And to drive this point home, when he's in a fight and is almost killed by a E-rank goblin, someone comes to help him and asks Joo-hee to heal him, and he runs off only after Jeju is completely safe. We're already in the first episode, and we've already seen signs that Jeju is so poorly written. Now we have to talk about the actual raid, because from here on out, the writing for both the story and the characters all just go to absolute hell. The raid ends, but the gate doesn't show any signs of closing since all the monsters have to be defeated for the gate to close. So they decide to go further in instead of reporting it to the guild in fear of other hunters coming to steal the loot. So they put it to a vote where it's a tie, and the tiebreaker comes down to Jeju, who actually votes yes, fully knowing he could die. This is just one of the biggest fumbles by the author.
I don't want money. I need it. I vote yes.
As Jeju is making a self-conscious and sound-minded decision to risk his life for loot over his actual survival. And that doesn't portray him as being selfless. We've already character assassinated him. If he dies, his sister will be left all alone because their dad is already out of the picture and his mom is in the hospital in a coma. But the story just treats it as if Jeju is a victim and a hero for surviving the dungeon that he agreed to go along with in the first place, fully knowing he could die.
Good job.
They all reach a giant room where they have to pass 3 trials to escape as the doors are locked behind them, and anyone who tries to leave gets immediately killed. And the only hints they have are the 3 commandments next to the statue of God. And then they end the episode off with Joo-hee seeing a statue's eyes move and Jeju dismissing it, saying it's not possible.
Jeju, that huge stone statue, I saw its eyes move. It's been watching us this entire time.
There's no way. You're seeing things.
You will not leave alive.
For some reason, I have no words. What do you mean it's not possible? You live in a world where monsters drop essence stones and dungeons are unpredictable by nature. This only establishes Jeju as being oblivious or just simply dismissive of people, which isn't a great character trait. Only to later be contradicted because he's the only person smart enough to figure out the temple's 3 basic rules.
It's over! Come on, Jeju, what's next? Does your plan have a second phase?
Well, not really, no. The writing. What the first commandment say again?
What? Oh, the very first one was, Thou shalt worship God.
We need to bow our heads toward the giant statue on the throne!
Will that actually do something?
So your theory was right then?
Yes, sir. It only attacks if you're above a certain height.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
We have to bow down and worship God like the commandment says. Axe, trumpet, trumpet, that's it! Everyone quick! Run to the statues holding musical instruments! If you say so!
The plot needs him to be a genius at this moment, so everyone else just becomes comically incompetent. And the thing is, a very simple rewrite could have fixed it all. All you had to do was just make Jeju believe her, try to leave, the door slams shut, he turns around, the statue smiles, and then the rest of the episode plays out exactly the same. Now that would be real tension. Now that would be a well-written main character that makes active decisions instead of simply reacting to things that happen around them. And what also doesn't make sense is that if he's this smart and this able to think on his feet quickly, why not just become more of a strategist? No, seriously, he struggles with the simplest E-rank goblin, the easiest monster to ever defeat. So if he can't fight, why not find another way to be useful? Healers don't really fight either, they provide value by providing backup with healing. So if Jeju is indeed shown to be this smart and able to think that quickly on his feet, why not just have him be a coordinator or a strategist instead of simply running into fights without a plan? Well, I think we all know the answer to that. Don't think about it. Yeah, this level of intellect and problem thinking skills are never shown again. He just simply brute forces past any fight once he actually gets the system and every bit of information is fed to him on a silver platter. And it gets worse, as in the second commandment about praising God by standing in front of the statues, there's a limit of 1 person per statue, so Jeju willingly chooses to sacrifice himself, which makes the statue of God follow him and crush his leg. Yeah, the rule about 1 per statue is only there because the author needed a way to make Jeju lose his leg, so he'd sacrifice himself in the 3rd trial and die in order to trigger the system. So he wrote a rule that makes no logical sense and didn't really think about the consequences, because if you really think about it, the 1st and 3rd trials all had a way for everyone to live, as long as they didn't do anything stupid and knew the actual rules. But in the 2nd trial, there's only a set amount of people that is able to survive. This is just such lazy writing, and I'm baffled how anyone can watch this and actually call this well written and a good story. And in the end, Jeju sacrifices himself so that Juhi, the dungeon leader, and everyone else can escape. Yeah, this entire arc is just so dumb. The sacrifice only happens because the author rigged the entire scene and every other element around it. And even the in-universe explanation is just so dumb. Minor spoilers, who cares? But apparently, the previous Shadow Monarch specifically designed the trials to test and pick him because of his resilience despite him being weak, and because of his devotion to his family. And I just have to ask, why? There seriously wasn't any other person you could have chosen? Plenty of other people are weak but also kind-hearted. They're making this out to be like Jeju was the only choice out there, when it really wasn't. Sure, the trials might have been specifically designed for him, but that doesn't mean that he's the only contestant that should be considered for that position. Editor Ronan here, but I just realized also that the trials aren't actually really specifically designed for Jeju. I mean, I feel like almost anyone else could figure this out. This isn't like some situation where Jeju was the only one to experience something or a clue before that leads to the solution. Praising God by not standing up, standing in front of the statues, and then just simply waiting at the altar. That's kind of just as generic as it gets. I can't even say that it's AI generated as an insult, because this probably came out before AI. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. Back to our regular scheduled program. In just this beginning arc alone, we've completely ruined both the character writing for Jinwoo and the characters surrounding him, and then the plot itself. And if you thought the Double Dungeon arc showed the author bending the rules, the C-rank dungeon arc where Jinwoo kills 6 hunters after being betrayed is much worse. Speaking of which, in episode 5 of season 1, Jinwoo needs some quick cash, but on paper, he's still an E-rank, so he decides to accept the quest to help 6 hunters on a C-rank dungeon raid. In reality, the whole job is a trap where the 6 hunters gather the 2 newcomers as bait for the dungeon boss, and once they're dead and the dungeon boss sleeps off the kill, they plan to waltz in, and this way they can take all the mana crystals for themselves. It obviously doesn't work, and Jinwoo ends up killing all the hunters. This should be a very simple arc, setting up both a parallel about betrayal from the very beginning and building a conflict about morals. This is the moment where he realizes the world is cruel and points out how it's survival of the fittest, and he needs to make a choice, to kill or not to kill.
World filled with violence, deception, and betrayal. I think I get it now. The weak always lose no matter what. Prue must understand how it works too if you're saying that. It's survival of the fittest in this world.
And for once, I'm actually surprised. There might actually be some character writing. We might actually get real character growth.
You serious?
Oh, what was that? You said something? The system issues a quest that forces him to kill? You mean the one moment where Jinwoo is supposed to make a genuine character-defining decision? The one moment where the author and the writers could have shown how Jinwoo changes under the constant betrayal and pressure? The choice is literally ripped away from him? Are we serious?
Good job.
This is just single-handedly the biggest cop-out ever. They're literally fence-sitting Jinwoo, refusing to make him turn dark and actually kill people on his own because they still want him to be relatable and a hero. So they wrote in a loophole where the system forces him to kill. They've turned the system into Jinwoo's character writing. Need Jinwoo to do anything morally bad? All I know, let's make the system do it. It's literally used as a crutch for literally everything, and I mean it, even to the level of how Jinwoo levels up. In episode 3, he gets a key for doing his daily quests, which in turn lead to a dungeon in the subway. Surely he's not gonna go in alone, right? Especially after not even a single episode ago, he almost died because he was too weak and was caught off guard.
And hey, I'm the king of running away. If it gets as bad as last time, I'll bolt out of there. Hey, wait! Oh, I see exit blocked off here. The door! It just shut on its own!
If there's treasure lying around, you idiots are welcome to it. I'm leaving!
Get out, it's a trap! And hey, I'm the king of running away. If it gets as bad as last time, I'll bolt out of there.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Is it just me that thinks the author wanted Jinwoo to go on a training arc to get stronger specifically for the upcoming C-rank dungeon arc so he can have this cool moment where he kills 6 hunters, but forgot to write an actual character? Because I think the author wanted Jinwoo to go on a training arc and completely forgot about the consequences and ruined Jinwoo's character yet again. This guy has no trauma or hesitation, because what do you mean he'll bolt out of there if it gets bad? In the double dungeon, the door was locked until you completed the test. I genuinely can't with the show. All the plot holes, all the plot contrivances, all the character writing, all the plot writing is just so astronomically bad. Something as simple as using the betrayal of the 6 hunters for character development just immediately falls apart because of Jinwoo. His entire existence is just a poison to the show. He's so hollow, yet so overpowered, the author failed to write an actual character and make his character development functional or even remotely interesting. Look, okay, I'm not trying to dunk on Solo Leveling. In fact, I don't have a problem with anyone that actually likes the show. Not every story needs a complex, rich, and meaningful plot like Attack on Titan or Vinland Saga. Simple plots and motivations work just as well, like Demon Slayer and Hell's Paradise. But Solo Leveling is just a giant mess, man, that relies on pure cool fight scenes rather than having a cohesive and functioning plot with real characters. After all, the whole reason the more simpler stories work in the first place is because we have a more emotional attachment to all the characters. But what do you guys think? Would the show actually improve if Jin-Woo didn't exist? Or is it just a lost cause either way? That's it from me. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank God I'm done with this video. Ronin out.